Good morning, this is Send 7 World News in 7 minutes. I'm Stephen Devincenzi. Today is Tuesday, the 6th of August, 2024. Starting in Asia today, Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned and appears to have left the country after anti-government protesters stormed her official residence in Dhaka yesterday. At least 90 people were killed in protests on Sunday, with the police accused of using live ammunition on protesters. Protests over the last few days called on Sheikh Hasina to resign because of police brutality in previous protests in June and July that were originally against government work quotas that prioritised certain types of people for jobs. In total, over 300 people died in protests over the last 10 weeks, making this some of the worst violence in Bangladesh since its separation from Pakistan in 1971. In January this year, Sheikh Hasina won a fifth term as Prime Minister in elections which were widely criticised as not being free and fair. Mobile phone videos taken by people inside the Prime Minister's official residence show people celebrating and stealing all kinds of objects, including large pieces of furniture. There were also reports of looting in other places in Bangladesh and police stations and politicians' houses being attacked. It has not been confirmed where Sheikh Hasina has gone. However, some media reports have said that she was taken in an army helicopter to India. Russian political prisoners who were freed last week in a prisoner swap have spoken publicly to criticize the government of Vladimir Putin and said that they thought that they would die in Russian prison like other political prisoners have. Vladimir Kara-Murza and Ilya Yashin have said that they did not ask to be exchanged and said that they will return to Russia one day. The prisoner swap last week has been called the biggest East-West prisoner swap since the Cold War and involved various countries. United States journalist Evan Gershkovich was one of the freed Westerners, and one of the freed Russians was Vadim Krasikov, an assassin who was arrested in Germany after killing a Chechen nationalist commander. President Putin admitted this weekend that Krasikov works for the FSB, the Russian security forces, effectively admitting that the Russian state had ordered a murder within Germany. There have been many reports that Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was originally planned to be a part of this mass prisoner exchange before his death under suspicious circumstances in Russian prison in February. In Palestine, an Israeli strike in Gaza on a school where displaced people were living has killed 15 people, according to the Hamas-run media office. 2 attacks in the West Bank have killed 9 militants, according to reports from Israel, Hamas, and the group Islamic Jihad. Iran has said that it will punish Israel over the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran last week. Africa. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has asked people to stop protesting and promised to listen to protesters. Human rights groups have said that at least 13 people have been killed in protests over the last few days against the cost of living crisis, although protests seemed less prominent yesterday. Tinubu said that Nigerians cannot let violence tear the country apart.
I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart.
In Somalia, a terrorist attack at a beach in Mogadishu has killed at least 37 people and injured 200. the Islamist jihadist group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility. In the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris is expected to announce today her choice for her vice president in the presidential election in November. In Venezuela, large protests have continued in Caracas and other cities against the election results from the recent presidential election, which many groups say are fraudulent. There have also been large protests across Latin America made up of Venezuelans who have left Venezuela during the presidency of Nicolás Maduro, mostly because of the collapse of the economy. Around 1 in 4 Venezuelans have emigrated over the last 10 years, and many say that they will return after a change of government. Europe. In the United Kingdom, there have been riots in many areas, mostly fueled by far-right groups. Protests began last week after misinformation spread which suggested that an attacker who killed 3 young girls last week was an immigrant and a Muslim, although actually he was not Muslim and was born in Wales. Despite this now being known, the protests continued and have turned into riots which have targeted a mosque and hotels housing refugees. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that people will be arrested, charged and sentenced.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests. Individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow.
And in France, the Olympics have entered their second and final week. The United States has won the most medals, but China has won the most gold medals. In the men's 100-metre final, US sprinter Noah Lyles won the gold medal, beating Jamaican Kishane Thompson by 0.005 of a second, that is 0.005 seconds. In the tennis, Serbian Novak Djokovic won the gold medal, which was the last major tennis trophy that he hadn't yet won. And images and videos of the Turkish pistol shooter Yusuf Dikic have been circulating on social media, calling him the coolest Olympic athlete. Most other competitors wore large ear defenders and heavy eye protection. However, Dikic competed with only small earplugs, seemingly standard glasses, and his left hand in his pocket, with his face not moving at all. Dikic won the silver medal with his female teammate Seval Taran in the mixed 10-metre air pistol event. Listeners, I was recently a guest on the Italian language English learning podcast Praticamente Inglese. This podcast is great for Italian speakers or even for Italian learners, as the host Mattia explains things in Italian sometimes. There will be a link to Praticamente Inglese in the description of this episode. During August, this podcast is only released on Tuesdays and Fridays, so the next episode will be on Friday. A big thank you to Mikao in Poland, Yuju in Taiwan, and Bernard in France for becoming our newest supporters. You can have access to the transcripts of every episode, our weekly worksheets, and World News Quiz by becoming a supporter at send7.org. And during August, there is a €10 discount on joining as a yearly supporter using the code August 2024. Have a great week. See you on Friday.